The summit between President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jongun could be a watershed moment that rewrites the history of the Korean Peninsula. Previous administrations in South Korea have taken multi-pronged efforts in order to arrange an inter-Korean summit.
우리나라의 자주적인 평화 통일을 추구하는 7개 항의 공동 성명이 7월 4일 서울과 평양에서 동시에 발표됐습니다.
But summit plans were torpedoed over major disagreements as well as external factors. After taking office in 1993, President Kim Yong-sam was especially active in his pursuit of an inter-Korean summit, and the leaders of the two Koreas finally agreed to meet on July 25, 1994. However, the summit was cancelled following the sudden death of then North Korean leader Kim Il-sung on July 8th. The first inter-Korean summit was eventually held later on June 2000 in the subsequent Kim Dae-jung administration, marking the first meeting between the two Koreas since partition.
저는 바라고 있습니다. 이번 방문으로 7천만 민족이 전쟁의 공포에서 해방될 수 있기를 진심으로 바랍니다.
Following the three-day summit, the June 15th North-South Joint Declaration was adopted by the two Koreas, which was followed by family reunions, investments in the Mount Kumkang tourism project, as well as sporting exchanges. As a result, President Kim Dae-jung was awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize later in December of that year in recognition for his efforts to promote peace and reconciliation with North Korea. The second Inter-Korean Summit was held a few years later on October 2, 2007. Then President Roh Moo-hyun entered North Korea by walking over the military demarcation line, something that no other South Korean leader had previously done.
대통령으로서 이 금단의 선을 넘어갑니다. 평화와 번영의 길로 가는 그런 계기가 되도록 노력하겠습니다.
President Roh Moo-hyun and North Korean Kim Jong-il announced the October 4th North-South Joint Declaration following the summit, which called for the end of military hostilities and deeper economic exchanges between the two Koreas. Following two summits and other forms of contact and dialogue between the two Koreas, anticipation is on the rise once again ahead of the third Inter-Korean Summit and its potential outcome. So the first two summits were held over 3 days, but this one, it's expected to be a one-day affair. Do you think this is too short?
I don't think it's too short, but it all depends on the preparation. So both sides have to prepare really well for the summit, and that is what's going on right now. South Korea have established the preparation committee that is working hard. Probably if they do a really good job before the summit, then there would be not much left for the two leaders, for Moon Jae-in and for Kim Jongun.
Okay, so if there's enough achieved during the preparation stage, it might just be a formality.
Right, yeah. Everything should be prepared beforehand, and probably that it will happen like that.
Do you agree that one day should be enough?
Yeah, and also, as President Moon Jae-in said last week, to solve the nuclear issue, just only one summit is not enough.
이번 회담들과 앞으로 이어질 회담들을 통해 우리는 한반도의 핵과 평화 문제를 완전히 끝내야 합니다.
And he said the rounds of summit, both South and North, and US and North, and US and South and North will be followed.
진전 상황에 따라서는 남북미 3국 정상회담으로 이어질 수도 있을 것입니다.
So if I think that put that way, then one day is good enough for start.
So rounds of shorter summits might be more appropriate. Now, Don, from your decades-long experience in covering the Korean Peninsula and from what you've observed in the two previous inter-Korean summits, what are some of the main differences between those two meetings and the talk between Kim and Moon?
Well, obviously, the most outstanding difference is that this one is going to be in Panmunjeom. So much more equal footing in Panmunjeom. And it's going to be really interesting from that point of view. Also, I think that President Moon is going to be a little more firm and a little more astute in his dealings with Kim Jong-un. I don't think he's going to make the statements, the same kind of statements that both President Kim Dae-jung and President Roh Moo-hyun made when they were up there. The first summit, if you look at what they agreed on at the first summit, the aftermath was extremely disappointing. Obviously, there hasn't been reunification. There hasn't been economic cooperation, really, either. And the meetings of the families have been few and far between, politicized by North Korea. I think they've had about 20 of them. Tens of thousands of families have not been reunited and never will be reunited as they pass away. It's very saddening. I would hope that President Moon could make a serious issue out of the inter-Korean family meetings. Just to begin with, maybe denuclearization isn't going to happen right away, but they can get down to that issue. And I also think that President Moon can be rather firm about the need for denuclearization. Kim Jongun may assent politely to his willingness to talk about it and so forth, but I'm not sure they're going to really come to that much of an understanding on it.
Okay. What do you think will be some of the key differences?
Probably the difference would be is that the two presidents would not be discussing the economic cooperation this time. Because obviously North Korea is under the sanctions and it's just the wrong time to talk about that.
Right.
But don't you think they'll want to talk about sanctions?
Probably they will.
Yeah, which is relevant in terms of economic duress and so forth.
Right, so, but on the other hand, the North Korea should talk about the sanctions more to the United States than to South Korea.
Right, and to the UN. What about North-South trade? Is that to what extent is that banned by sanctions? Can there be a revival of North-South trade? I don't know that this will come up in the summit, but it might be mentioned.
At least touched upon?
Yes, yes.
Now, President Moon Jae-in, he served as one of the key figures in arranging the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit as then President Roh Moo-hyun's chief of staff. How do you think that experience will help in this upcoming summit?
Well, I think, it helps him a lot because not only this issue, but from watching other issues like South Korea-US relationship or relationship with other countries, including Japan, the Moon administration learned many lessons from President Roh Moo-hyun's success and failure, both of them. So I think it helped a lot.
Dan?
You know, there is a proverb in Russia that you cannot drink away your experience. So having an experience is better than not having one. And especially having experience with North Koreans is very valuable. At least you can know the general line, what they stick to, you know, their habits, etc. All of those things could help to, you know, to go ahead with the summit and to achieve better results.
Okay. In the two previous summits, they were held in Pyongyang, whereas this time around, the North Korean leader is coming down south to South Korean territory, Panmunjeom, for the summit. Does this hold any significance in your view?
Well, I think so that it shows some eagerness of Kim Jong-un for this summit. But also, it is just a gesture, and as long as we know that what South Korean envoys heard in Pyongyang a couple of weeks ago from Kim Jong-un is exact copy of what his father Kim Jong-il told South Korean another envoy in 2005. So it's exactly same wording came out from Pyongyang since how many 13 years ago. So we haven't received any confirmation of their willingness for denuclearization. So we need not just a gesture, but a more concrete words and action.
Okay, and Don?
Well, you know, I can't help but be a little skeptical, as people say. That's almost a code word now. But the real question for me is, will this lead to a Trump-Kim summit? And what are they going to say about that? And the Trump-Kim summit is very much up in the air since the U.S. has not heard anything directly from North Korea. It's awaiting word. And I wonder whether Kim Jong-un will be that enthusiastic about meeting President Trump in view of his appointment of an extremely hardline national security advisor, John Bolton, who's called for the most severe measures, not only against North Korea, but against other countries as well. So maybe we won't know until the Moon-Kim summit about the future of the Trump-Kim summit.
Right. Now, in 2007, then President Roh Moo-hyun, he actually walked across the DMZ in a highly televised event. How do you think Kim Jongun will come to Panmunjeom this time around?
Judging from my experience, when I was in Pyongyang in 2003, 2006, once the North Korean leader at that time, Kim Jong-il, he came to the Russian embassy once.
Okay.
And I witnessed all that scene. So he came there with a black Mercedes, a big one, and there were 7, maybe 5 or 7, the same kind of cars with the same number plates that came simultaneously at the embassy. And he was living in the same manner. He went out of the embassy, sat in one of those cars, and all of them left in different directions.
So incognito.
He couldn't be followed by the satellite or whatever, some spy airplanes. I don't think the security protocols have changed much since then, and probably that's the way how Kim Jong-un is going to come to Panmunjeom.
But he'll be on the South Korean side, though, won't he? They're going to meet in Peace House, which is across the line, which he's never done. I'm not sure how often he's actually been to Panmunjeom, actually. Have you seen him in Panmunjeom?
I don't think so.
Panmunjeom. So this will be a whole new experience for him, which should be interesting in itself. Of course, President Moon has a very interesting background in Panmunjeom. He, as a soldier, was there during or right after the axe murder incident in 1976. And he has this interesting background of having accompanied and having had a lot to do with setting up the summit between Roh Moo-hyun and Kim Jong-il in 2007. So he's got a long and interesting background, going back quite far in Panmunjeom. But Kim Jong-un does not. And it's all going to be quite fascinating to see how that'll plays out.
Yeah. Okay. Now, according to President Moon Jae-in's Berlin initiative given last year, the stated aim for this summit is to simultaneously achieve denuclearization and ratify a peace treaty. Do you think this is doable, or is this lofty goals?
Well, actually, of course, I am pessimistic because, if I were Kim Jong-un, I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up nuclear weapons because it is the only thing that North can win over South. And if there's no nuclear weapons, then U.S. president will not care about North Korea. So in that sense, it's really, really hard goal. But still, I will be really happy if my assumption is betrayed.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say I'm also pessimistic about that.
We're all being conservative here.
Yeah. The North Korea always said and always acted like the nuclear weapons are the only means of its existence. And I quite agree with that. If we look at Libya, if we look at Iran, and probably some other countries. So in Kim Jong-un's place, I wouldn't hurry up to give up the nuclear program also.
What about this notion of simultaneously achieving denuclearization and ratifying the peace treaty?
I'm not sure if that would happen simultaneously, but I think achieving the peace treaty is easier than achieving the denuclearization.
Do you agree?
Well, sometimes I think that one of the real miracles of the Korean Peninsula is that peace has been maintained with many ups and downs, many incidents, since 1953, when they signed an armistice that was not just a piece of paper, but a serious armistice that ended the Korean War. So I think it's miraculous that there hasn't been a second Korean War and that they're making these moves toward peace. But, why have a peace treaty? Why break it up with a peace treaty? Let's stick to what we've got, and thank goodness that there hasn't been a second Korean War, and that this summit, if it gets anywhere, will even reduce the chances still further of conflict between the two Koreas or between North Korea and the United States.
All right.